What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the How to Build an RTS Game from Start to Finish series, where we learn how to build a game from the ground up, well, completely at the mercy of you guys. Hey guys, in our last video, we did part 3 of adding the ability to spawn our units, where we added the ability to actually spawn our units based on a spawn timer that we gave them. And if you haven't seen that one yet, go on ahead and check that one out first, because we're going to be using the same project as before. And I'll link to that in the card and in the description below. This time we're actually going to add in a spawn marker, so that way our characters can spawn and then move to that marker. Hey guys, it's almost time for our game jam. We'll be announcing what the theme is an hour before it starts at 6 p.m. Pacific time on October 22nd. And that's just to make sure that it's fair for anyone who has to work. That's why it's starting a little bit later like that. The jam will last until final delivery, which has to be done 11:59 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday the 24th, which brings us to our sponsor for this video, the Red Village. The Red Village is an NFT-based play-to-earn multiplayer game, and it begins with an intricately created collection of formidable warriors. There are 5 classes of champions in the Red Village: the Barbarian, the Wizard, the Druid, the Ranger, and the Paladin. Each champion is completely unique with its own distinct name, skills, attributes, and characteristics. There will only ever be 28,000 of these pure blood champions in the Red Village ecosystem, spanning across 4 distinct bloodlines: Genesis, R1 through 3 genotype, Mystic, R4 through 6, Warlord, R7 through 9, and Lionheart, R10 through 12. So if you want to know more, here's their project overview and their earning mechanics. You can pause that and check it out however you want. They will actually be giving away a few of their NFT champions, which are valued around $500 each, as prizes in our game jam. So guys, this is going to be so awesome, and I can't wait to see what you guys build, and I can't wait to see the Red Village stepping up in this thing. Alright guys, back to the video. Alright, let's just dive into it. The first thing I want to do is let's go into our iBuilding script. And in here, we're going to start setting up some variables that we need to be able to access our whatever the spawn marker is that we're going to be using. So let's do a public game object. Let's do a spawn marker. Okay, and we'll just set that to null for now. And then let's make a public float, and we'll set the max marker distance. That way we can make it to where if we're clicking too far away from our building, if we want, then we can't spawn something there. I'll just set it to 10 by default for now. Now we're actually going to need a function to start spawning this marker. So let's create a public, we'll just call it set spawn marker, set spawn marker location. And we're going to do this sort of like how we're moving our units in the first place. We're going to actually cast a ray and find out where we're hitting, and then set our object to that position. So we'll do ray, and we'll just call it ray. Oh, I just hit public here. We need to do void. So we'll create a ray called ray, and it'll be equal to camera.main.screen_point to ray input.mouse position. Okay, now let's, we need a raycast hit. I'm just going to put it in here because I don't think we're ever going to need to access it from anywhere else. So raycast hit. Now, we want to check if we hit anything when we raycast. So if physics.raycast and the ray, I would say hit, then here we want to do something. In our case, that's going to be setting the position of our spawn marker. So we'll do spawn marker dot position dot transform dot position is equal to hit dot point. Okay. So now, now that we actually have a spawn marker, we don't want to send the game object's location anymore as the location that we want to go. So we're actually going to pass in our spawn marker. So now that we can do this, we have a few other things that are going to be kind of holding us back here. One, we're not actually checking if we're clicking anything, right? So that's going to be something that we're going to have to fix. And then we also, well, here, let's just fix it now. Let's go to the input handler. So we can do this really easily because we're already checking for a lot of this stuff. So in our input handler, we have handle unit movement. Let's just go to the bottom of this. Right after we're checking the right mouse click. So if get mouse button right and have selected units do something. So instead, we're just going to go right under this and we'll say else if input.get mouse, get mouse button down, and we'll put a 1 in there for right click. And what's our building one called? We'll say selected building, I think. Selected, yep, and selected building is not equal to null, meaning we have a building selected. Then we're going to grab the selected building GameObject.get component, and we're going to grab its iBuilding script, and we just want to set the spawn marker location. Okay, so now when we right click, it's going to call this function, which casts array and moves our spawn marker to that position. So now we actually want to go to our action frame script where we're spawning that object. And we want to change a little bit here. The first thing that I want to do, oh, it looks like either it didn't save whenever I did it last, or maybe I already erased it, but there's, we had like a -4 or something here. We're going to get rid of that. We no longer want to offset this thing. We want it to go exactly where we want it to go. Okay, so now that I got that saved, let's just head into Unity, and we're going to need to make a little bit of like graphics for our object, right? So I'm going to do this inside of the building prefab. So in order to do that, let's just go to the building prefab, hit open. Now inside of our building, I'm going to create an empty game object, and I'll just call this spawn marker. Okay. And the reason I'm doing it this way is to have everything reset and I want to have a bottom location on this. So this is taking this buildings right here and putting it in the center. So we're just going to move this down probably, I don't know, 0.5. Yeah. So essentially, I just want this to be at the bottom of our building. And so, yeah. Now, we're going to create a UI, and we're going to create a canvas. Let's see, where's canvas? And in our canvas, this screen space, the render mode, we want to set it to world space. Now, our position, let's just set it to 0, 0, 0, and then on our width, I'm going to set that to 1 and height to 1. Now I'm going to press T so I can see my canvas editor, and I'm just going to scale this, I don't know, up some. I'm just doing this by eye because if you have some graphics, you can set them yourself. But this is going to work just fine for me. I'm going to make sure my position goes back to 0. I'll just put this at like 1. And now inside of our canvas, let's just rename this spawn marker graphics. Okay, and now inside of here, I want to create an image, so UI image. And I'm going to do the same thing, make sure position 0, 0, 0, width 1, height 1. And now that lets me see my image. And I'm just going to, again, just do this by eye. There we go. And then I'm going to duplicate this image, and I am going to make a little flag. Yeah, that ought to do it. Now, the spawn marker, we could write some code to make it face our camera in a certain way, but because I'm just using these images this way, I don't have a set way to determine where I want the graphics piece at the end of the flag to be, or the correct shape for it. So for now, I think I'm just going to rotate the spawn marker graphics back just a little bit. And that should be just fine for our purposes right now. Yeah, and then I'm going to save this. So we have that spawn marker in there now, but I'm going to leave the spawn marker here active, but the spawn marker graphics, I'm going to turn it off so we don't see that flag. And actually, I don't really like that white color. It kind of looks like he's surrendering. So let's set this to something not green. That's too health. Let's just make this bright pink so we can see it as we're setting it. And there we go. So we turn this off. Spawn marker graphics gets turned off. Now we click on our iBuilding script. And let's scroll down here. We have a spawn marker, so let's put our spawn marker in there. And we shall save that. And now that we have our spawn marker created, let's go back into our iBuilding script, because we actually want to start passing some of the correct stuff here, right? Well, we don't necessarily, let's make sure this works first before we get too far ahead of ourselves. So if we go into play mode and I click on my building, I should be able to now right click. Oh, but it's not working. Oh, right, of course, because we turned it off now and everything, so we have to make a way to turn our spawn marker on. We're setting its position, but we're not turning it on. So in our iBuilding script on interact enter, well, first we need a reference to it, right? So let's grab our graphics. We'll say public game object spawn marker graphics. Okay. And what we want to do with that is take it into our on interact enter. So what that means is, like, the second that we click on the object, so when we click on it, we want to spawn marker graphics dot set active true. So now we're setting that game object to active so we can see the flag now. And now spawn marker graphics set active to false whenever we exit interacting. So whenever we click away or something. That way we don't always see the flags out there. So let's save that and let's go check it out now, just to make sure that we got all this stuff working right before we add anything else to this. So here's our building, and we have an unassigned reference, so we got a null reference, and that's because we want to go back into our building script here now, or in our building prefab, and we want to scroll down. It's because we added that spawn marker graphics, so let's drag that in there. And the reason I'm doing this in the prefab is because if you have like a bunch of buildings everywhere, that'll change it for everything that is using that prefab. You know, it won't just like only change the one that we have in the scene. So now let's give her a whirl. There we go. So we've seen that it popped up when I clicked on it, and I can right click around to move this. So now we can see it. However, when we spawn a unit, so mine's going to be in like 5 seconds. You see how it spawns right there on the flag rather than, you know, normally games they spawn here and then they move to the flag. So in order to do this, let's actually go back to our action frame script, and in this spawn object, we actually want it to spawn at the parent. So this is going to make it spawn at the building. So we want spawn point.transform.parent position, right? And we're going to do that to all the transforms. So dot parent and dot parent. Okay, and now we want to make it to where he spawns from the parent, but he has to walk over to the position. So we're just going to call this again. Normally, you would want to like hash this if you're doing it more than once, but we're not going to be keeping this variable. So, oh, why isn't this working? Spawned object dot get component, and so we'll do units dot player unit dot, and I believe it's move unit. Yep. And so we're going to move him to our spawn point dot transform dot position. Okay, so let's save that. And now when we go back to Unity, let it recompile, and when we hit play, it should allow us to click on our building, right click somewhere to set the target location, and when we spawn our unit, there he goes. Perfect. So now we can get our unit spawned and they move to their target location. Guys, I can't wait to see you in the game jam. It's going to be so fun. And I really hope you guys are enjoying the content. Be sure to, if you want to see us doing some gaming play and stuff like that too, check out our other channel, which is Lithex Gaming. It's got the same logo and everything, should be fairly easy to find. And there will also be a link in the description below. But until next time, guys, peace.